Hello, my dear students. Hope you guys are all doing good. Hope you're all perfectly fine. And I do wish and expect that your preparation is going on well. So now I'm doing this video to bring before you the MTP Series 1. So recently MTP papers were released. In that also Series 1 questions and answers were uploaded in the ICA website. So I thought of taking you through that MTP for May 2023 attempt Series 1 questions and answers. We will have a look. So why? Because sometimes there are chances the questions from MTPs will be tested in the main exam. So that's why I thought of covering it. So without any further delay, let us try to understand the contents of this mock test paper series number 1. And one more thing, guys. If you find this video informative and if you are able to understand the concepts through this video, please don't forget to like this video and also please subscribe to our channel. And if you have any more further doubts, you can share your doubts through the comment sections also. I will be able to respond back to you. So let us start now. So first we will start with, in this mock test paper, first we will start with case scenario based MCQs. So as you all are aware, in the question paper, there will be 2 case scenario based MCQ questions, which carries 10 each. 20 marks of case scenario based questions will be there. Let us have a look at that first. So case scenario number 1. SPR and Associates are appointed as auditors of XYZ Limited for the financial year 2021-22. So there is a company XYZ Limited. The firm SPR and Associates were appointed as auditors. Next one. The team consisted of Mr. S, Mr. P and Mr. R, all chartered accountants and 3 article assistants. So 3 practicing chartered accountants are there, 3 article assistants are there in that audit firm. Mr. S, the engagement partner. Out of the 3 partners, who is the engagement partner? Mr. S is the engagement partner. So Mr. S, the engagement partner, briefed the audit staff about various items of financial statements to be checked in detail in case of XYZ Limited, and also about various aspects to be covered in the audit of the company. So engagement partner gave a brief to all his engagement team members, what items are required to be checked in detail, what aspects are required to be covered in the audit. Those are explained by the engagement partner to the rest of the engagement team members. Mr. S told the audit staff about audit documentation, audit evidences, audit file, completion memorandum and many other things along with the relevant standards of auditing applicable. And even he described about audit documentation, audit evidence, audit file, completion memorandum and what standards on auditing will be applicable. Everything has been explained to the engagement team members. Mr. S also told the staff about the risk of material misstatement that the financial statements are prone to and how it affects the sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence. Even the engagement partner gave a brief to his engagement team members what is risk of material misstatement and how risk of material misstatement will affect our decision regarding sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence. The audit staff was also apprised about the various audit procedures to be adopted while conducting the audit of XYZ Limited. That means audit staff were informed about what audit procedures are required to be conducted during the course of this audit. Further discussions were done about various types of risk related to the financial statements and the audit work and the related audit procedures and risk assessment procedures. So even they had a discussion regarding various kinds of risk, related audit procedures, risk assessment procedures, etc. Next, the engagement team is also very particular about the application of various standards on auditing applicable in case of XYZ Limited. Even the engagement team is very much concerned about application of standards on audit wherever applicable. So on the basis of these facts, see, they did not give any case scenario. They just let you know what and all discussions happened. Out of that, they are asking us a few questions. Let us try to answer them. Based on the above facts, answer the following. What is that? So they are asking a question, fill in the blank kind of question. What is the summary of significant matters identified during audit and what they are addressed? So they have given 4 options. Out of that, they are asking us to choose which contains a summary of significant matters identified during the audit and how they were addressed. You tell me, guys, as we have seen in the chapter audit documentation and evidence, what is a document which contains a summary of significant policies and the way they are addressed? So that document, we call it as audit documentation summary, or alternative name for that is completion memorandum. So what contains a summary of significant matters identified and how they are addressed? So that document, we call it as audit completion memorandum or audit documentation summary. So which option is that? Option C will be the correct option. So not audit file, not audit program, not checklist. Completion memorandum or audit documentation summary is the document which contains a summary of significant matters identified during the audit and how they were addressed. Next one, the susceptibility of an assertion to a misstatement that could be material before consideration of any related control is called as what? Before you consider any internal control, that means when there is an absence of internal control, there is a chance of happening of misstatement. What do you call that risk as? See, if you remember in the audit risk assessment and internal control, we discussed the concept of audit risk. Audit risk contains two components. One is risk of material misstatement and the other one is detection risk. And the risk of material misstatement further contains two more components. One is inherent risk and the other one is control risk. So what is inherent risk? The risk that a misstatement could happen because there are no internal control or before considering internal control. That risk we call it as inherent risk. Whereas control risk means controls are there implemented in the organization, but those controls were unable to prevent, detect or correct a misstatement. That we call it as a control risk. So in the question they are asking, what is the risk that a misstatement could be material before consideration of internal control? That means there is no internal control to consider. That could lead to misstatement. What is this risk called as? What is risk called as? See, alternatively they are asking, when there is an absence of internal control, what is that risk called as? That risk will be called as inherent risk. So correct option is option B, which is inherent risk. Inherent risk is a susceptibility of an assertion to misstatement before consideration of any related control. So option B will be the correct option. Now let us come to question number 3. They are giving two statements. We have to find out which statement is correct. Statement 1, audit procedures consist of risk assessment procedures and other procedures. When I say other procedures, they are referring to further audit procedures, which includes compliance procedures as well as substantive audit procedures. So is this statement correct? Yes. Why? Because audit procedures will contain risk assessment procedures also and further audit procedures or other audit procedures also. So statement 1 is correct. Statement 2. Substantive audit procedure further consists of test of details as well as analytical procedures. This is also true. So as we know, substantive audit procedures can be performed by way of test of details or by way of analytical procedures. What will happen in the test of details? We check the supporting documents. What will happen in the analytical procedures? We study the relationship between financial and non-financial item. So statement 2 is also correct. So correct answer is both statement 1 and statement 2 both are correct. Next one. Fourth question. What refers to audit procedures performed to obtain an understanding of the entity and its environment, including its internal control, to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error at the financial statement level and also at the assertion level? What do we call that procedures are? Those procedures in which we obtain an understanding of entity and its environment and its internal control to identify and assess the risk. Of material misstatement. What we call that procedures as? Those procedures will be called as risk assessment procedures. So option B will be the correct option. Now talking about the next question. Statement 1. Substantive procedures alone can provide sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Do you agree with that? No. Why? Because in order to obtain audit evidence, we need to perform a combination of compliance procedures along with that substantive audit procedures. So compliance procedures along with substantive audit procedures, they will give the required audit evidence at the assertion level. So statement 1 is false. Why? Because substantive procedures alone cannot give audit evidence. Along with compliance procedures, they give complete audit evidence. Statement 2. Test of controls is audit procedure designed to evaluate operating effectiveness of internal controls in prevention, detection and correction of misstatement. Do you agree with that? Yes. So nothing but test of control, other name for compliance procedures. What we do in the compliance procedures? We perform audit procedures to obtain audit evidence regarding operating effectiveness of controls. That means whether the controls are working effectively or not. To know that, whatever procedures we perform, that we call it as compliance procedures, and the other name for that is test of controls. So here what is the correct answer is statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. So only statement 2 is correct. This will be the correct option. Option B will be the correct option. Now, let us come to second case scenario. We'll try to understand now the second case scenario. Just a minute. Right. So let us try to understand now case scenario number 2. So what is case scenario number 2? Let me read it out. The contents one. Contents ones. ABC and associates have been appointed as auditors of Venus Limited for the financial year 2020-21. So there is a company Venus Limited. For that company, ABC and Associates, a firm has been appointed as auditor. During the course of audit, the auditors noticed that certain legal expenses has been charged to revenue during the financial year by Venus Limited. So during the audit, the auditors are able to see that there are certain legal expenses which are shown in the statement of P&L. Okay, next one. These legal expenses are related to litigations against the company regarding its corporate social responsibility expenses incurred near its factory gate. So why that legal expenses are incurred? That legal expenses are relating to one case going on against the company or regarding the company relating to CSR expenditure. Okay, next one. Further, ABC and Associates noticed that there is a major change in the debtors and creditors account of Venus Limited during the financial year under audit. So debtors and creditors balances have undergone huge changes. The auditors have decided to send balance confirmation request to the debtors and creditors of Venus Limited. So what auditors have decided it, since debtors and creditors balance have undergone major changes, let us try to send external confirmation. Also, the auditors decided to take management representation letters wherever required. In addition to that, even they thought of taking representation letters, written representations, they thought of taking it. So two standards are involved here. SA 505 talking about external confirmation, 580 talking about written representation. Next one. The auditors have noticed that certain related party transactions reflected in the financial statements of Venus Limited during the financial year under audit. There were certain related party transactions. The transaction is between Venus Limited and a company owned by wife of one of the directors of Venus Limited. Whatever it is, a related party. Next one. The auditors have become aware of certain subsequent events occurring in the case of Venus Limited. These are related to outcomes of litigations going on against Venus Limited. Even auditors are able to find out some subsequent events also. So SA 560 will also come into picture here. Why? Because they are able to identify subsequent events. Next one. The auditors are also concerned whether the litigations going against the Venus Limited and their outcomes have any impact on going concern. Whatever cases that are going on, whether they will have an impact on going concern, that also auditors got a doubt. So SA 570 also will come into picture. So if you observe here, so many standards related things are there. 505 external confirmation, 580 written representation, 560 subsequent events, 570 going concern. Now, on the basis of these facts, they are asking us to answer some questions. Let us have a look at that, what questions they are asking and what are the answers for them. So, based on above facts, answer the following. First question, statement 1. Although written representation provide necessary audit evidence, they do not provide sufficient and appropriate audit evidence on their own about the matters with which they deal. Do you agree with that? Yes. Why? Because SA 580 clearly says that written representation can be used only as a supporting evidence. Written representation alone cannot be taken as a audit evidence. That means you can't rely completely on written representations only for your audit evidence. Yes, statement 1 is correct. Then what is statement 2? So statement 2 says that written representation do not include financial statements, the assertions within or supporting books and records. Do you agree with that? Yes. Why? Because written representations are confirmations given by the management regarding the financial statements. We can't say financial statements and books of accounts as written representations. Regarding those items, if the management is giving confirmation, then we call them as written representation. Yes, written representation do not include financial statements, the assertions therein or the supporting books and accounts. So the correct answer here is both the statements 1 and 2 both are actually correct. Next one. The auditor can perform the following procedures to identify the litigations and claims of Venus Limited. So regarding litigations and claims, what audit procedures auditor will perform? See, when I say audit procedures regarding litigations and claims, the standard which should strike your mind is SA 501. So as we all are aware, SA 501 is talking about 3 matters. One is existence and condition regarding inventory. Number 2, obtaining audit evidence regarding completeness of litigations and claims. Third one, segment reporting. So they are asking, when it comes to litigations and claims, what audit procedures auditor will perform? Which standard talks about it? SA 501. And as per SA 501, what are the procedures auditor need to perform regarding litigations and claims? First, he need to inquire the management and in-house legal counsel. He need to review legal expenses account, and even he need to review the minutes of the meetings of those charged with governance and any correspondence happened between entity and external legal counsel. So as per SA 501, auditor needs to perform all these three procedures: inquire with the management, review legal expenses, check the minutes of the meetings of those charged with governance. All the three procedures he has to perform. So which option will be correct? 1, 2 and 3. All the three are correct. Why? Because all the three are required to be performed as per SA 501. Next one. Negative confirmation request requires a third party to respond in the following cases. See, as we know, SA 505, which is talking about external confirmation, the confirmation requests are divided into two categories: positive confirmation request, negative confirmation request. Positive confirmation request refers to such a confirmation request where we expect a third party to respond, either he agrees or disagrees with the information contained in the request. Whereas a negative confirmation request refers to such a confirmation request where we expect a third party to respond only when he disagrees with the confirmation, only when he disagrees with the information contained in the request. So negative confirmation request requires a third party to respond. In which cases? Only when there is a disagreement. So option B will be the correct option. Now let us have a look at the next question. Question number 4. Two statements they are giving. Statement 1. A failure of the confirming party to respond or fully respond to a positive confirmation request or a confirmation request returned undelivered is a case of non-response. Do agree with that? Yes. Nothing but from SA 505, they are just giving definition of non-response. Yes, this is what the definition of non-response. What is the definition of non-response? If you send a confirmation request, either positive or negative, but it has been returned undelivered, or you sent a positive confirmation request that reached the third party also, but the third party did not respond, that also we call it as a non-response. Yes, SA 505 also says the same thing. Non-response includes two scenarios: when a confirmation request is returned undelivered, or you have sent a positive confirmation request but the third party did not respond to it appropriately. So statement 1 is correct. Next, statement 2. A response that indicates difference between information requested to be confirmed and contained in the entity's records and the information provided by the third party, that we call it as an exception. Yes, this is also the definition given under SA 505. So what is the definition of exception? Whatever information that is there in the confirmation request and whatever response which is provided by the third party, if both are not matching, that we call it as exception. Like in the confirmation request, we have told that the management, we have asked the data to confirm whether he is required to pay 10 lakh rupees of money. But the third party has responded back, no, he is not required to pay 10 lakhs, he is required to pay only 8 lakh rupees. So this difference we call it as what? Exception. So what is the correct answer here? Both the statements are actually correct. Next one. Which of the following is correct so far as the related party transactions are concerned? Regarding related party transactions, they are giving some statements. We need to find out which statements are correct. So now this question is from SA 550. So SA 550 is a related standard which is talking about related party transactions. So let us see what they are trying to say here. So which statements are correct as per SA 550? Number 1, many related party transactions are in the normal course of business. Yes. See, generally related party transactions, they happen at arm's length basis. In most of the cases, many related party transactions will happen in ordinary course of business. That is true. Sometimes related party transactions may not be conducted under normal market terms and conditions. This also could happen. In most of the cases, related party transactions will happen in normal course of business. But there might be some related party transactions which might not be conducted under normal terms and conditions. In some circumstances, related party transactions may give rise to higher risk of material misstatement. Obviously, in certain circumstances, like in the second case, when the related party transactions are done not under normal market terms and conditions, then the risk of material misstatement is much higher. So all the three statements are correct as per SA 550. So what are the three statements? Yes, majority of the related party transactions are done in normal course of business. Sometimes they might be carried out not under normal market terms and conditions. In such circumstances, they will give to high risk of material misstatement. Yes, all the three statements are correct. So option C will be the correct option. 1, 2, 3, all the three options will be correct. Clear, everybody? Now let us have a look at. So with this, a case scenario based MCQs are over. Now we have some general MCQs, very simple and easy questions. Let us try to quickly answer them. So first question, the audit strategy and audit plan remains whose responsibility? Development of audit strategy and audit plan. It will be whose responsibility? Auditor's responsibility, not management, not those charged with governance. It is completely auditor's responsibility. So option A is correct option. Next one, CA Amar is the statutory auditor of XYZ Limited for the financial year 2020-21. During the process of assembling the audit file, CA Amar briefed his audit team as to what all changes can be made to the audit documentation at this stage. Which stage? At the assembly stage. Which of the following changes cannot be made to the audit documentation during the final assembly process? See, as we know, when the audit file is getting assembled, there we will not perform any new audit procedures. Just we will try to do administrative work. Like what kind of administrative work we will do? We will sort the document. We will give the reference to the working papers. We will sign the documentation. We will delete the duplicate documents. This kind of administrative work only we will do. So what they are asking is, out of the below things, which cannot be done during assembly stage. So let us see which cannot be done during the assembly stage. So which of the following changes cannot be made to audit documentation during the final assembly process? What change we can't do? Let us see. Number one, sorting, collating, cross-referencing working papers. Can you do that? Arranging in one order, giving a page numbers. Can we do it? Yes, this will be done. Signing of completion checklist relating to final assembly process. Signing of the documentation. Is it administrative work? Yes, we can do it. Deleting or discarding superseded documents. That means if there are any duplicate documents, we will do it. Will it come under administrative process? Yes. Recalculation of depreciation. This we will not do. Why? Because we will not perform any new audit procedures. We will only do administrative work. So A, B, C will come under administrative work. Option D will not come under administrative work, which we will not do it during that assembly process. So the question is also the same thing. Which process we will not perform during the assembly process? So option D we will not perform. Next one. Let us have a look at third question. The auditor has no obligation to perform any audit procedure regarding the financial statements after the date of auditor's report. Generally, once you sign the audit report, you don't have any responsibility to perform extra audit procedures. However, when after the date of auditor's report, but before the financial statements are issued, a fact comes to the auditor, a fact becomes known to the auditor that had it been known to the auditor at the date of auditor's report would have caused the auditors to amend the auditor's report, then what auditor shall do? Guys, this question is from essay 560. I will show you the paragraph also from where this question has been tested. So if we go to our material, direct material. So this I have already uploaded in the app. You better know it. You can download this material, colored material from the app. So what they are talking is, yeah, this paragraph they are saying, this is what the paragraph they are representing as it is. So like as we have mentioned, generally auditor has no obligation to perform any audit procedure once the audit report is signed. But however, after the date of auditor's report, but before the financial statements are issued, if a fact becomes known to the auditor, that means once you sign the audit report, after that you came to know about any fact, and if you believe that had I known this fact at the time of signing the auditor's report, I would have given some other audit report. I would have amended my auditor's report. Such a fact came to your knowledge after the date of auditor's report. Then what you shall do as per essay 560? Three things you should do. What are they? You have to discuss with the management and where appropriate, those charged with governance. As a part of that discussion, determine whether financial statements need amendment, and if so, inquire how the management intends to address the matter in the financial statements. So these are three steps you are supposed to do in case if you came to know about any fact after the date of auditor's report. So let us see the options what you should do. Number one, you have to discuss with the management. Yes. You have to determine whether financial statements need amendment. Yes. Inquire how the management intends to address a matter in the financial statements. See, all the 3 points here has been given as it is. So what auditor should do? All of the above. All the 3 things he should do. Understood, everybody? So correct option will be option D. All of the above. All the 3 he needs to perform. So now let us talk about next question. So the next question is about which of the following is incorrect. They are asking you to find out incorrect statement. For the purpose of identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement, what auditor shall do? So that means some correct options are there. There is one incorrect option that we need to find out. So this is regarding risk assessment procedures. To identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, the auditor will do the following except one thing. What is that? Let us see. The auditor shall identify risk throughout the process of obtaining an understanding of the entity and its environment, including related controls that relate to the risk, and by considering class of transactions, balances and disclosure. See, the main content here is you have to identify the risk throughout the process of audit. as we know, risk as understanding the entity is not just a one-time activity. It is rather a continuous process. We know it, right? So even identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement is also continuous process. It happens throughout the audit, not just at the beginning of the audit. Do you agree with that? Yes. So that's why the first statement is correct only. But they're asking us to find out incorrect statement. No. So let us read remaining options. Option B, assess the identified risk. That means you have to, once you have identified the risk, after that you need to analyze that identified risk and you need to determine which risks are more pervasively related to the financial statements as a whole. First, we will identify the risk. Then we will analyze the risk to determine which risk is a pervasive level risk, which is affecting so many assertions potentially. Yes, this also we will do. Next one. Relate the identified risk to what can go wrong at the assertion level, taking account of relevant controls that the auditor intends to test. After you have analyzed the risk, now you need to maintain an what can go wrong attitude, nothing but more or less related to professional skepticism. So will you maintain that attitude? Yes, this also you are required to do. Next one, C, last point, D point, not consider the likelihood of misstatement, including the possibility of multiple misstatements and whether potential misstatement is of magnitude that could result in a material misstatement. Guys, he should consider the likelihood of misstatement while performing risk assessment procedures. You should consider out of because of the risk which you have identified, what amount of misstatement could happen, what potential misstatement could happen, that you should consider the likelihood. But in the option they are saying the auditor should not consider the likelihood of misstatement. So this is obviously incorrect. If they would have told, instead of removing that not, if they would have given consider the likelihood of misstatement, then the statement would have been true. But they are saying the auditor shall not consider the likelihood of misstatement. That is actually wrong. The auditor shall consider the likelihood of misstatement which could happen because of the risk which you have identified. So even they are asking us to find out incorrect statement only. So option D will be incorrect. So that is going to be the correct option. Understood? Next one. Now let us talk about fifth question. Very easy question. Fifth question also they are asking us to find out, just a minute. So fifth question also they are asking us to find out an incorrect statement. So they have given 4 options. In that we need to find out which statement is incorrect. An auditor conducting an audit in accordance with standards on audit is responsible for obtaining absolute assurance. See, first option itself is wrong. Why? Because as we know, as per SA 200, the auditor can only obtain reasonable assurance. Auditor cannot obtain absolute assurance. So according to me, option A is incorrect. So option A should be the correct option. But anyhow, let us read the other options also. So what is given in other options? Let us try to have a look at that also. Option B, as designed in SA 200, as described in SA 200, owing to inherent limitations of an audit, there is an unavoidable risk that some material misstatement of financial statements will not be detected even though the audit is properly planned and performed. This statement is correct only. So SA 200 says even though you perform the audit effectively, still because of some inherent limitations, no matter how effectively you do the audit, there is always a chance of some misstatements not getting noticed. This statement is correct. Next, the risk of not detecting a misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than risk of not detecting one resulting from error. This statement is also true. So what they are trying to say is the fraud is difficult to detect than error. Do you agree with that? Yes. Which means the chances of not detecting a fraud are higher than chances of not detecting an error, obviously. And option D, the risk of auditor not detecting a material misstatement resulting from management fraud is greater than employee fraud. See, even in the fraud also, the risk of not detecting management fraud is higher than risk of not detecting employee fraud. See, if employee has committed a fraud, somewhere he will get caught. But if the management has committed a fraud, they will be able to do more amount of manipulations. So relatively more difficult. So option D is also correct option. So which is the incorrect option? Option A will be the incorrect option. Next one. Let us have a look at the next question. Any casual vacancy in the office of the cost auditor, whether due to resignation, death or removal, shall be filled by the board of directors within how many days, guys? Within 30 days casual vacancy has to be filled in case of a cost auditor's position, whatever may be the reason. It could be removal, death, resignation, whatever it is. The cost auditor's casual vacancy should be filled by board of directors within 30 days. So option A will be the correct option. Second one, what refers to the record of audit procedures performed, audit evidence obtained and conclusions reached? This is a definition for what? Audit documentation. So as we know, audit documentation is nothing but record of audit procedures performed, audit evidences obtained and conclusions reached by the auditor. So option C will be the correct option. In case of frauds involving amount less than 1 crore, the auditor should report the matter to whom? If the amount is less than 1 crore, it will be enough if the auditor communicates the matter to, if the board of directors, if the audit committee is there, to the audit committee, if the audit committee is not there, to the board of directors. So if you communicate with board or audit committee, that will be enough. No need to report to central government. Reporting to central government will happen when the amount involved in the fraud is 1 crore or more. So here they have clearly told amount is less than 1 crore. No need to report to central government. Just if you report to audit committee or board of directors, your responsibility will come to an end. Next one. Ninth question. Mrs. Reema has availed a personal loan for her boutique of 5 lakhs and a vehicle loan to purchase an Activa scooter for 60,000. She has taken 2 loans from the bank. One is business loan, other one is vehicle loan. She is regular in depositing EMI of Activa loan. Whatever vehicle loan she has taken, that she is regularly paying. But she has not made any payment towards personal loan due to low business during the year. She was very good in repay. She was very regular in repaying vehicle loan, but she has made some default in the repayment of this business loan because business is very bad. In this case, which accounts will be categorized as NPA? See, we need to remember, as per Banking Regulation Act, even if a person makes a default in one loan, his account will be classified as NPA. When his account is classified as NPA, all the loans taken by that concerned person will be classified as NPA. See here, this lady has taken loans, 2 kinds of loan. She has paid one loan. Which loan? Vehicle loan she is paying, but she is not paying business loan. Since she has made a default in one loan, all the loans taken in her name will be classified as NPA. Not just business loan will be classified as NPA here. All the loans in her name will be classified as NPA. So here both the Activa loan and the personal loan, everything will be classified as NPA. You can't say, sir, she is paying Activa loan properly. No, but still account NPA classification will happen account wise, not loan wise. Once a person's account is classified as NPA, all the loan accounts in his name will be classified as NPA. Clear? Next one. 10th question, last question. After a government expenditure has been incurred and the accounts are closed, the appropriation accounts are prepared, which are scrutinized by whom? There will be a committee called Public Accounts Committee. Public Accounts Committee will scrutinize the accounts of the governments. See, preparation audit will be taken care by C&AG. C&AG will prepare it. After the C&AG has prepared and audited, those audited accounts by C&AG will be verified by a committee called Public Accounts Committee, PAC. So that Public Accounts Committee will scrutinize the accounts of the government. So option C will be the correct option. Clear? So with this we are done with case scenario based MCQs and normal MCQs. Now we have true or false statements. Let us try to have a quick look at the true or false statements. Very easy questions. So number 1, advocacy threat is a threat which occurs when an auditing firm or its partner or associate should benefit from a financial interest in the audit client. Do we call that as advocacy threat? No. When the auditor is benefited from some financial interest in the company, that we call it as self-interest threat, not advocacy threat. So this statement is incorrect. This is not correct. So advocacy threat means when the auditor is supporting the client's opinion without any reasonable basis. When he is benefited from a financial interest in the client, that we call it as self-interest threat, not advocacy threat. So first one is incorrect. Second one, according to audit of sanctions, the auditor tries to bring out improper, avoidable or infructuous expenditure even though the expenditure has been conformed with existing rules and regulations. Do we call it as audit of sanctions? No. This is also incorrect. That we call it as proprietary audit. So proprietary audit is the audit which finds out improper, avoidable or wasteful expenditure. This question is regarding government audit. What is audit of sanctions then? Checking whether there is a approval for the government expenditure or not, that we call it as audit of sanctions. But finding out improper, avoidable or wasteful expenditure, that we call it as proprietary audit. So that's why second statement is also incorrect. Understanding the internal control of the company will not help in developing an audit program. Do you agree with that? No, this is also incorrect. Why? Because when you understand internal control, on the basis of that only you will determine how much amount of substantive audit procedures has to be performed. So understanding internal control will help the auditor in developing audit program. We can't say that understanding internal control will not help in the development of audit program. No. Why? Because depending on effectiveness of internal controls only, we will decide how much amount of substantive audit procedures will be performed. So understanding of internal controls will definitely help the auditor in development of audit program. So this statement is also incorrect. Next one. Assertions refers to representations by the auditor. No, by here itself you should come to know this statement is incorrect. Why this statement is incorrect? Assertions are representations made by management, not the auditor. But in the question they are saying written representations made by auditor. No, assertions are representations made by management regarding the material misstatements that could occur. So that's why fourth point is also incorrect. Next one, low acceptable sampling risk requires larger sample size. Do you agree with that? Yes, this statement is true. Why? Because if you want your sampling risk to be very low, you need to go for bigger sample size. Inverse relationship, no. If you go for bigger sample size, your sampling risk will be low. If you go for smaller sample size, your sampling risk will be high. So if you want to have smaller sampling risk, if you want to have low sampling risk, you need to go for larger sample size. Yes, this statement is correct. Next one. The purpose of audit is to enhance the degree of confidence of intended users of the financial statements. Yes, this statement is also correct. This statement is also from the chapter Nature, Objective and Scope of Audit in essay 200. As we have seen, the purpose of the audit is to enhance the degree of confidence, to increase the confidence of users of the financial statements. Next, seventh statement. Narrative record is a series of instructions or questions which a member of the auditing staff must follow or answer. Do you agree? No, this is incorrect. Why? Because it is a checklist. Checklist is a series of instructions which are required to be answered by auditor staff, not narrative record. Then what is narrative record? Narrative record is a complete and exhaustive description of internal control in the internal control by the auditor, that we call it as narrative record, whereas checklist is a series of instructions which are required to be answered by auditing staff. Next one. Planning is a discrete phase of audit. No, this statement is also incorrect. As per essay 300, planning is not a discrete phase of an audit. It is rather a continuous and iterative process. And it often starts from the completion of the previous year's audit and it will continue till the completion of current year's audit assignment. It is not a discrete phase of an audit. It is rather a continuous and iterative process. Clear, everybody? So this is what 8 true or false statements are. Clear? Now let us have a look at descriptive questions. So first we will start with question number 2. Discuss the following. The 4 questions they are asking. Let us see what are they. The firm should establish policies and procedures designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that engagements are performed in accordance with professional standards and legal and regulatory requirements. So by this you should come to know this is regarding essay 220. And what is the question they are asking? They are asking us what kind of policies and procedures are required to be maintained regarding engagement performance. That's what they are asking. Like if you read, the firm should establish policies and procedures designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that engagements are performed. Performance of engagement is in accordance with professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements, and audit reports issued are appropriate. Explain what you will write from the essay 220. Fifth point, policies and procedures regarding engagement performance. A point will be there that you are supposed to write here. So let me take you to essay 220 once. So if we go to essay 220, just a minute. Yeah. So this is the point which you need to write from essay 220. So the firm should establish policies and procedures to provide it with reasonable assurance that engagements are performed. Same, no, this statement as it is they have given and they are asking you to explain. So this entire paragraph you need to write, like how engagement teams are getting described about the engagement, what are the processes to comply with the engagement standards, giving them proper training and coaching, methods for reviewing their work, telling them how to maintain proper documentation. So this point you are supposed to write it as an answer from essay 220. Next one. Planning an audit involves establishing the overall audit strategy for the engagement and development on audit plan. Adequate planning benefits the audit of the financial statements in several ways. Explain such benefits of planning of the audit. This question is from Audit Strategy, Planning and Program. They are asking us what are the benefits of planning of the audit. What are the benefits of planning of audit? Like if I show you the answer randomly, if I take you through, these will be the benefits of planning of the audit. So just let me zoom out here. So this is what the answer. These will be the benefits of planning of the audit. It will help the auditor to determine which area requires more attention. It will help the auditor to resolve the potential problems, that is major problems. You can properly organize your work and you can carry out the work in an effective manner. You can easily select the engagement team members with a level of capabilities. You can properly direct and supervise the engagement team members, and even wherever necessary, coordination of the work also will happen. So these are all the benefits of planning of the audit. So this you are supposed to write. Next question. The division of internal control into 5 components provide a useful framework for auditors to consider How different aspects of internal controls may affect the audit. Mention those components of internal control. They are asking you to write down 5 components of internal control. This question is from risk assessment and internal control. As we know, the 5 components of internal control are control environment, then we have entities risk assessment, then we have control, then we have information system including business process, then we have control activities, and finally monitoring of controls. Just you have to write this 5 components. That's all. Next, D question. With respect to audit in an automated environment. So this question is actually from audit in automated environment. They're asking you to define certain things. General IT controls. What are general IT controls? Those internal controls which are operating on the overall IT infrastructure of the company, which are not specifically related to one application. The controls which are operating over entire IT infrastructure, like appointment of security guards. So unauthorized people are prevented from entering inside the company. So these are all in general IT controls which are operating over entire IT infrastructure, not specific to any app. Next one, what is material weakness? So material weakness means such a kind of weakness which requires the attention of those charged with governance. So if I take you through that meaning, so let us read that definition once here. So material weakness, a control deficiency, that is a weakness in the internal control or a combination of deficiencies in the internal controls that is important enough, that is so much important enough that it requires the attention of those charged with governance, since there is a reasonable possibility that material misstatement will not be prevented or detected in a timely manner by management. Simply, if I have to put it, that big weaknesses in the internal control which is so big enough to bring it to the attention of those charged with governance, that we call it as what? Material weakness. That's all. A bigger deficiency which is so big enough to bring it to the attention of the management, that we call it as material weakness. Next one, data processing. What is data processing? See, these are also IT related definitions. This in our material also I have given in the audit in an automated environment. All the definitions we have given in the last question that you can refer. So what is the meaning of data processing? It refers to systematic recording of the data. It refers to systematic storage of the data, retrieval of the data, modification of the data, and transforming that data into useful information. So the process of recording, storing, retrieving, modifying, and converting the electronic data into useful information, that entire process we call it as what? Data processing. So these 3 definitions they are asking in question number 2. Now let us have a look at third question. Question number 3 we will have a look now. So what is question number 3? 3A. When auditor identifies deficiencies and report on internal control, he determines the significant financial statements that are assertions that are affected by ineffective controls in order to evaluate the effect on control of risk assessment and strategy for the audit of financial statements. Explain. See, this is a straight away question from risk assessment and internal control. So if I take you through that risk assessment and internal control regarding which particular question they are referring, this even I have explained it in the marathon videos also. Refer it once. So where is it? Just give me a minute. I will show that for you. Yeah, this one. See, same question. So when auditor identifies deficiencies on internal control, explain the impact on control risk assessment and strategy for the audit of the financial statements. The same question they are asking it here, even in the MTP also. So if you find out any control deficiency, how it is going to have an impact on the strategy of audit. Like if I have to revise, like we have discussed something, whenever you find any deficiency in internal control, first you need to determine, is there only one internal control or there are a group of internal controls. See, if there is only one internal control and in that only there is a deficiency, you should decide not to rely on controls. If there are a group of internal controls, then we need to make a collective assessment of all the internal controls to determine whether to rely on controls or not to rely on internal controls. See, if out of so many internal controls, if only one internal control is not working effectively, but for that there is alternative compensatory control. Even though one internal control is not working, that weakness is overcome by another internal control. That is, there is a compensatory control. Then also we can still rely on controls. So this I have explained in a detailed manner in our marathon videos also. Please refer them once. So this question number 15 from risk assessment and internal control, the same question has been tested in the examination. Clear? Next one. Next point, the auditor This is next question is from company audit. The auditor shall make a report to the members of the company on the accounts examined by him, explained with reference to provisions of the Companies Act. Nothing but this question is regarding rights of the auditor. If you open the rights of the auditor question, in that one of the point you will be able to find right to report to the members of the company. That paragraph you have to write here. So the auditor has to report to the members of the company on every financial statements which are laid before the general meeting. In that report, he has to mention whether the financial statements give true and fair view of profit and loss, whether the financial statements give true and fair view of assets and liabilities. And also that report is required to be prepared after taking into account the provisions of accounting standards, standards on auditing, and also keeping in mind the auditing standards and and also keeping in mind the provisions of the act, that is Companies Act. So rights of the auditor, right to report a point will be there from the company audit chapter that you are supposed to write it here. Next one, next point, next question. Describe how risks in IT, if not mitigated, could have an impact on the audit. So this question is from audit in an automated environment. They are asking if risk in the automated environment are not mitigated, how it will have an impact on the audit. Like we have seen one question, if IT risks are not mitigated, they will have impact on substantive audit procedures, they will have impact on compliance procedures, even they will have an impact on the auditor's reporting. How they will have impact on the compliance procedures? If IT risks are not mitigated, auditor will not be able to rely on automated controls. If he is deciding not to rely on internal controls, he will perform more substantive audit procedures. How risk will have impact on substantive audit procedures? Auditor will not be able to use directly the information which is generated from the system. First, he need to verify whatever information generated from the system is adequate or not. Then only he can start using it for audit purposes. So here also more work he need to perform. And if the IT risks are so severe, then the auditor might consider even modifying the opinion also. So this is what the question from audit in an automated environment. Next one. The role of audit committee in corporate governance is not limited to making recommendations for appointment of auditors only. Discuss. So this question is from also once again company audit chapter. They're asking you to write the functions of audit committee. Like as we know, audit committee will perform a variety of functions. So if I show you that particular answer, so this is what the answer. So audit committee will do various functions, like it will do the recommendations for appointment, the remuneration of the auditor. It will monitor the auditor's independence and performance. Audit committee will examine financial statements and auditor's report. They will give approval of the related party transactions. They will scrutinize intercorporate loans and investments. They will undertake the valuation of the assets whenever it is necessary. They will even evaluate internal financial controls. They will even monitor whether the funds are used in a proper manner or not. So these are all the functions of audit committee. These functions you are supposed to write. Next one. Now let us come to the fourth question. So what is fourth question is about? In that first question is regarding CARO reporting requirements from the audit reporting chapter. Regarding 2 points they are asking you to write reporting requirements. One is regarding statutory dues, disputed and undisputed. As we know, when the undisputed statutory dues are there, we need to report whether the company is regular in depositing all the undisputed statutory dues with the authorities. If not, the amount of arrears of outstanding which are outstanding for a period of more than 6 months from the date they are becoming payable as on the balance sheet date, that amounts are required to be reported. In case if the dues are disputed, we need to report what is the amount involved in the dispute and the forum where the case is pending. So these are reporting requirements. Similarly, they are even asking you to write the reporting requirements regarding internal audit system. Only 2 points, whether the client is having internal audit system commensurate with the size of the company. Second point, as an external auditor, did you go through the internal audit reports while forming the opinion on the financial statements? These 2 points you are required to comment. Next, B question. What are the required disclosures for cash and cash equivalents to be made by the company as per Schedule 3? See, this is regarding audit of items of the financial statements. They are asking you what disclosure requirements will be given regarding cash and cash equivalents, how the cash and cash equivalents will be presented. See, this question is from same question is there even in the RTP also. In the RTP video also I have explained the same question. Once again I will show you what and all disclosure requirements, how the cash and cash equivalents are required to be presented. So this is what the disclosure requirements of cash and cash equivalents. You have to classify the cash and cash equivalents into different categories. What is the balance with banks? What are the checks? How much amount is in the form of checks? What is the cash in hand and others? Similarly, if there are any specific, if the balances are kept for specific purposes like unpaid dividend, etc., that earmarked balance is also required to be stated separately. Balances with the banks, to the extent they are kept as margin money. If the money is kept with the bank as margin money, short call notice money, demand money also you can say. So like this, if the balance is kept with the banks as a money for short notice, or it has been kept as security for the borrowings, that amount is also required to be stated separately. Repatriation restrictions, that means if the amount is lying in a foreign account, on that if there are any repatriation restrictions, that also need to be disclosed separately. And bank deposits which are having more than 12 months of maturity, that also need to be disclosed separately. So these are the disclosure requirements regarding cash and cash equivalents as per schedule 3. Same question even I have explained in the RTP video also. Once again you can refer to that RTP video. Next one. So next question. StudyMate Limited is a company engaged in the manufacturing of stationery items. The company sells its goods on credit. The debtors as on 31st of March 2022 amounted to 10 crores. What is the disclosure requirements for the company with respect to aging schedule of the trade receivables in terms of schedule 3? See, this is also regarding audit of items of financial statements. Here also they are not asking you audit procedure. What is the presentation? What is the disclosure requirement regarding trade receivables? And especially they are asking aging of the trade receivables, how the aging of the trade receivables has to be done. So here in the answer, if you see the format, you will be able to see the format, how the aging schedule has to be presented. So this is how aging schedule has to be presented. First, undisputed trade receivables which are considered good, undisputed trade receivables which are considered doubtful. See, in the trade receivables also, so let me explain it, what they are trying to say. So what they are trying to say here is trade receivables. First, you need to divide into two categories: undisputed trade receivables, then we have disputed trade receivables. And in that each category also, undisputed trade receivables which are considered doubtful and undisputed trade receivables which are considered good. Similarly, disputed trade receivables which are considered doubtful and disputed trade receivables which are considered good. Now under these four categories, you need to do aging. On what basis you have to do aging? Those debtors which are outstanding for less than 6 months, those debtors which are outstanding for 6 months to 1 year, those debtors which are outstanding for 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, more than 3 years, and the total balance. So like this, under four categories you have to divide the debtors balances. If you see here, four categories are this. So that's what I tried to present it in the form of chart. So undisputed trade receivables considered good, undisputed trade receivables considered doubtful, and disputed trade receivables considered good, disputed trade receivables considered doubtful. And under these four categories, you have to divide the amounts into these many categories which are overdue for less than 6 months, 6 months to 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, more than 3 years, and what is the total amount. Clear? So this is what the disclosure requirements of schedule 3 regarding aging schedule of trade receivables. Clear? See, disclosure related questions are very important. In the recent times, they are very much focusing on, instead of asking you what are the audit procedures, more focus is given on explain the disclosure requirements. So these two questions, please be very specific. Please refer this before you go for the exam. Disclosure requirements regarding cash and disclosure requirements regarding trade receivables aging schedule. So these two are the questions relating to audit of items of the financial statements. Now let us come to the fifth question. So what is the fifth question about? Akash and Associates are the statutory auditors of Deluxe Limited for the financial year 2020-21. During the course of audit, CA Akash, the engagement partner, requested the management of the company to provide written representations with response to valuation of transaction. The management, however, does not provide the same to CA Akash. What course of action CA Akash should follow in the given situation? So this question is from SA 580. So in the SA 580 also, they are specifically asking management's refusal to provide the written representation. There will be a paragraph in SA 580 what auditor should do if the management refuses the auditor to give the written representation. That's what the question. So they are saying the management does not provide the same. What they did not provide? They did not provide requested written representation to auditor. What he should do? SA 580 says what you have to do. What you should do? First, go and ask the management why they are not giving written representation. Ask the reasons. Re-evaluate the integrity of the management and consider the risk of fraud, and even consider modifying the opinion because written representations are not provided. So these are the three simple points which a standard is asking you to do. Even if you look at the answer also, the same three things you are supposed to do as per SA 580. You have to first go and discuss the matter with the management. Then you have to re-evaluate the integrity of the management and even take appropriate action like considering the possible effect on opinion, that is even consider modifying your opinion as per SA 705. Clear? Next one. Now let us come to the second question. An auditor is required to make specific evaluations while forming an opinion in the auditor's report. State those evaluations. Nothing but this question is from essay 700 audit reporting chapter. As we know, in order to obtain reasonable assurance, auditor need to make two kinds of evaluation. One is qualitative aspects evaluation and the other one is specific evaluations. So you are required to write specific evaluations. Even I told you one more shortcut. When they ask you specific evaluations, you can write question number 1 from chapter number 2, nature, objective and scope of audit. In that first question we have discussed what are the points to be considered before expression of opinion. The same points you can write even for specific evaluations also. Like if you go through the answer ones, so what specific evaluations you are supposed to do? So specifically you need to evaluate whether financial statements disclose all the significant accounting policies, whether accounting policies are applied and applied consistently year after year, accounting estimates made by the management are reasonable, and also the information presented in the financial statements is relevant, reliable, understandable and not misleading, and financial statements give all the disclosure requirements as required by the applicable financial reporting framework, and whatever terminology that has been used in the financial statements, that is appropriate. So these specific evaluations you are supposed to write. You are supposed to write these points. Next one. Explain and also state the role of auditor to the following in case of hotel. This is regarding audit of various entities. They are asking you to write audit in the audit of a hotel, how you will verify inventory and what things you will try to verify regarding travel agents and shops. So like what things you will try to verify regarding inventory of a hotel. So first you should write inventory in the hotel consists of portable items or very small items like food items, and also this linen, these kind of things will be there, and all this inventory should be kept in safe custody. Key should be retained by the manager and that key should be given only to authorized personnel. At the end of the year, whenever inventory verification is happening, auditor should go and attend that inventory counting process. And what about travel agents and shops? See, hotels will get a significant amount of income from travel agents. You need to verify what kind of agreement is there with the travel agent. You need to verify the share of income with the travel agent, and in case if the travel agent has given you the booking, whether from him proper share of money has been received after the travel agent's commission or not, that things we need to verify. So this question they are asking regarding how to conduct audit of hotel. In that also regarding 2 points they are asking you. So this is the question from audit of various entities. Now let us have a look at the last question. 6a. When are following considered as non-performing assets as per RBI guidelines? Government guaranteed advances and advances to staff. So this is from audit of banks. They are asking when government guaranteed advances will be considered as NPA. As we know, if the central government has given guarantee and if the guarantee is not invoked or repudiated, so even though they remain outstanding for more than 90 days, central government guaranteed advances will not be considered as NPA for asset classification. But if the state government has given guarantee, no special treatment, state government guarantees will be considered as NPA if they remain outstanding for more than 90 days. So this is when government guaranteed advances will be considered as NPA. Now coming to advances to staff. See, if the banker is giving the loan to the staff in the capacity of a banker, no special NPA norms will be applicable. Whatever normal NPA norms which are applicable for a normal customers, the same NPA norms will be applicable even when the loan is given to staff also. So this you are supposed to write. These 2 points you are supposed to explain in a detailed manner. Next one. Let us have a look at next question. Next question is also regarding audit of banks only. Explain pledge and set off as modes of creation of security with respect to advances granted by bank. So there, as we know, there are different modes of creation of security. 6 different modes are there. We have mortgage, we have pledge, we have hypothecation, then we have set off, then we have assignment, we have set off, and even we have lien. They are not asking you to explain all the modes of creation. They are only asking you about pledge and set off. As we know, pledge refers to such a mode of security which is used for mobile assets, and in the case of pledge, possession will get transferred to the banker and the borrower will get back the possession once he repays the entire loan. Set off is a term used for actionable claims. So assignment is used for actionable claims. Set off means if the customer has taken loan from a bank, with the same bank if he is having even a deposit also, and if the customer is not repaying the loan taken from the bank will have a right to adjust that loan and deposit. So set off means the right of the bank to adjust a liability against a asset, provided both the accounts should be there in the name of same person and it should be in the case of same capacity. Like an example, a customer has taken OD worth 50 lakhs from the bank. With the same bank, he is having a fixed deposit worth 1 crore. And this person is not repaying OD. Can the bank adjust this OD against this fixed deposit? Yes, they can do it. That only we call it as set off. But one condition is both the loan and both the asset and liability should be there in the name of same person, and the person should have same capacity in both the accounts. Clear? And for this question there is a choice. What is that? State the points which merit consideration in the audit of a club. So this question is from audit of various entities. They are asking you to write a brief about how to conduct audit of a club. So this we have discussed in a detailed manner. Even in the marathon also you can refer how to conduct audit of a club. A few specific points you are supposed to write here. Next one. While verifying the legal and professional expenses of the client company, what audit procedure the auditor should perform? See, this question is from audit of items of the financial statements. If you remember, in the audit of items of financial statements, there will be a question called how to conduct audit of all other expenses. In that all other expenses, there will be one part legal and professional expenses. So how the auditor should verify legal and professional expenses? So in the legal and professional expenses also, there will be recurring expenses, there will be non-recurring expenses. When it comes to legal and professional charges, recurring expenses are those expenses which are retainership agreements. So when you enter a retainership agreement with the lawyer, month on month you have to pay a fixed sum of money that will come under recurring expenses. And how do you verify recurring expenses? We will try to verify with whatever agreement that has been entered into with that lawyer. And in the legal and professional charges, whatever non-recurring expenses are there, like case fighting charges, etc., that we will try to verify the common attributes, like checking the supporting documents, whether they fulfill the criteria of revenue expenditure, whether the payment has been done appropriately. That common attributes we will check for non-recurring expenses. But whatever recurring expenses are there, especially retainership fees and retainership agreements, in that we will try to check the agreements which has been entered with the lawyers. Clear? So that you need to write here. Next one, last question. Name the assertion that the auditor will check by performing the following audit procedure. So they have given audit procedure. We need to answer for establishing which assertion he is performing audit procedure. Number one, employee benefit expenses are recorded in respect of all personnel have been fully accounted. So employee benefit expenses for all the staff in the organization has been recorded properly or not. So all expenses should be recorded. What is this assertion called as? Completeness assertion. So completeness means what? All items are recorded in the books of accounts without leaving out anything. So if we are checking whether all personal related employee benefit expenses are recorded or not, we are checking completeness assertion here. Next one. Discount on sales have been properly adjusted. So whatever discount on the sales are there, they're properly calculated or not. So discount is a P&L item and we are supposed to check the calculation. So here we will be checking measurement. So measurement means whether P&L items are accounted at correct figures or not. So we are checking measurement assertion here. Next, employee benefit expenses recorded during the period relates to the current accounting period only. This we call it as cutoff. What do you mean by cutoff assertion? Whatever expenses are which are recorded in the P&L, they should belong to only current year. None of the future years expenses should be recorded in the current year. None of the past years expenses should be recorded in the current year. So if we are verifying, that is cutoff. So three assertions. First one we are checking completeness. Second one we are checking measurement. Third one we are checking cutoff assertion. Clear? So this is what the MTP series 1. See, over a next few days when series 2 of the MTP will be released, that also I will upload a video explaining that MTP series 2. Hope you found this video informative. If you liked it, if you found this video informative, please do subscribe to our channel and share this video with others, and also share your comments in your share your comments in the comment section below, and don't forget to like this video. Clear everybody? So that's all guys. All the very best for your exams, and do your preparation well. Thank you.